Hi, what I wanted to show you today was one of the basic steps to hand sewing. Before you even start hand sewing, the most important thing to begin with is what's called a waxed French end. And what I wanted to show you today was how you do that and why you do it. So I have a 315 nylon thread, and that's often what I'm going to use for saddlery work, is a 315. And then I have a number 1 harness sewing awl. So it's 2 1/4 inches, and the eye is actually smaller than the thread. And so what we want to do before you sew is do this waxed French end. And this is how you're going to do it. You're going to take a straight knife, and I like this straight knife. It's a little less flexible than a fillet knife and works really good for this. So you're going to start with the blade going towards you and mashing on the thread, putting slight downward pressure on it and fraying the end for about 2 inches or so. What you want to do is get that filleted out, flattened, spread out, get that thread really fairly hairy looking. Once you've done that, then you're going to reverse the blade, so the blade is going away from you now, and very lightly, with a light amount of pressure, less than that you were using to make the end hairy, you're gonna just lightly skive it, if you will. So what you want to do is come in and start cutting, pulling some of the fibers of this thread. So essentially what you're doing is skiving the thread. Think of it as a lap skive on your thread. You can start to see some of the hair from my thread on the bench on my knife. Then it'll look kind of like that. It'll be really fuzzy and frayed. And you're gonna take beeswax. I just wrap it around my fingers a couple of times, and you're gonna pull it across that beeswax a number of times to get the waxed end. So now you have this real nice long taper to your thread. And we'll see if I can do this without my glasses. So again, this is a number 1 needle. Okay, so you're gonna be able to stick this thread through the eye. And again, the eye is smaller than this 315. And you're gonna pull it through. And then the other thing that you want to do is take the needle, and you're gonna come back through what I would call the body of the thread, not the tail end, but through the body of it. So you'll come and run your needle through it 2 times, and then pull it through to the tail. And what that does is it locks the thread on that needle, so that when you're hand sewing and you're pulling through, it doesn't pull your thread off. And then the other reason why with this wax French end is you're going to go through a hole with your awl, and when you make that hole with your awl blade, and then you run that thread through there, if you don't have a wax French end, what that does is it creates a bump as those 2 threads are laying on top of one another, and then it's a lot harder to pull that thread through, and it can distort the hole that you made. And so by having that wax French end, it pulls through that hole smooth. You get a nice smooth pull. It speeds your work up, doesn't distort the hole, and The reason why it's called a wax French end, I have no idea. All I know is that it's always been called that, and you can look in even the old cavalry manuals from 120 years ago, and they would describe a wax French end in their manual. So there you have it.